In previous sections, we have learned how to collect, configure, and filter some common MOEs, or measurements of effectiveness, in vSim. We have also seen how vSim Analyzer can simplify some of these tasks. In vSim, there are several other MOEs that can be selected, based on specific needs and objectives of your studies. To obtain valid results, you also need to learn how to properly set up and configure the simulations, taking into account a few key factors such as random seeds, seeding period, and the number of runs. In this section, we will discuss these factors and corresponding parameters and settings in vSim. Parameters for a vSim simulation run can be accessed from Simulation Parameters on the menu bar. In the comment field, you can add a text to identify a simulation run. The comment will be included in output files. You can set the standard driving side as on the right-hand side or the left-hand side. The traffic regulation selection affects the driving behaviors, the placement of the link of the opposite direction, and the placement of the bus lays by. Period defines the total simulation length in seconds. It needs to be sufficient to encompass the time period that the traffic congestion is expected to extend. It also needs to include any seeding period that is used to fill up an empty simulation network. The seeding period should be at least sufficient for the slowest vehicle to travel through the simulation network. Ideally, it would allow the simulation to reach a steady-state condition with normal traffic patterns and loads. For example, to run the simulation for the peak hour, we may extend the total simulation length to 1 hour and 15 minutes, but the initial 15-minute seeding period should be excluded in the final calculation of simulation statistics and data collection. You can further specify the start time and start date for the simulation. The start time can be used for dynamic traffic assignment to load the right portion of travel demand in the OD matrices. The start date can be used to load the date-dependent signal control logic. Simulation resolution specifies the number of times that each vehicle's position will be calculated within 1 simulation second, in a range from 1 to 10. The maximum value of 10 results in the vehicle's position being calculated 10 times per simulation second. For recording purposes, a higher resolution is preferred as it makes vehicles move more smoothly, but it can slow down the simulation speed. It is important to note that changing the simulation resolution will change the simulation results as it affects the interaction between vehicles. Therefore, the simulation resolution should not be changed during a simulation run. Simulation speed below defines the number of simulation seconds that is equal to a real-time second. A value of 10 means 1 simulation second is equal to 0.1 real-time second. If maximum is selected, the simulation will run as fast as possible. The maximum speed that can be achieved depends on the network size, complexity, and number of vehicles, as well as the computer hardware. Changing the simulation speed does not affect the simulation results, and thus can be done at any time during the simulation. You can run simulations as fast as possible during the seeding period, and slow down until a specific time in simulation in order for you to get a closer observation of the network state. You can also choose to set a value in the break field below so that vSim will automatically switch into single-step mode at the specified simulation time. Controller frequency can only be edited in networks with only fixed-time signal control. It indicates the number of passes per simulation second and thus controls the switching frequency of signal controllers during the simulation. The last important parameter is random seed. It initializes the random number generator. Micro-simulation models all rely on random numbers to generate vehicles and assign them speed, route, and behavior as they move through the network. It is necessary to run the simulation several times with different random number seeds in order to obtain statistical sound results for analysis. The minimum number of simulation runs required depends on the complexity of the simulation network, the accuracy required, and the computing resources. You can start with a preliminary set of simulation runs and then use the statistical estimators from this trial to compute the minimum number of simulation runs required to meet a stated objective, based on statistical theories. Instead of manually changing random seeds and conducting multiple simulation runs, vSim has a multi-run feature to automatically run multiple simulation runs. The multi-run can be defined by selecting Simulation Multi-Run from the menu bar. In the multi-run window, you can specify a starting random seed, a random seed increment, and the number of runs. The setting here is that 10 simulation runs will be conducted with random seeds, starting from 1 and increase by 1 for each successive run. Evaluation files from individual runs will have the actual random seed value appended to their file name to indicate the random seed used to generate the evaluation file. You can also specify the directory where the evaluation files are saved below. The multi-run function can also be used for running dynamic assignment with the option of modeling successive increase of traffic demand. However, we will not discuss this feature since it is out of the tutorial scope. Click the Start button to start the multi-run sessions. Now that we have learned how to configure the simulation runs and get desired numerical outputs from the model, we will discuss the animation features of vSim. In addition to the numerical outputs, vSim can present the simulation results in 2D and 3D animation. Visual outputs from the model are more intuitive and easier to understand. As we have already seen, in the standard 2D mode, each vehicle is animated separately, shown as a colored, rounded box according to the length, width, and color distribution assigned to the vehicle type. Alternatively, vSim allows dynamically changing the color display of vehicles according to their current states, such as lane changing, braking, and queuing. This option can be toggled using the shortcut Ctrl-V. In this mode, different states of vehicles are indicated by a specific color. For example, purple for light braking, white, as in queue, light green for lane changing, and blue otherwise by default. You can also customize the color display of vehicles based on a selected vehicle parameter. From the menu, select View Options. Under the Traffic tab, Individual Vehicles is used by default. Using the Configuration button to the right, you can select color options for vehicle display. The color display of vehicles can be based on vehicle speed, acceleration, parking lot origins, or parking lot destination. For a selected parameter, you can select a color for each range of values by clicking the colored box adjacent to the value field. You can also change the boundary value of each class from the default. Click OK twice and continue the simulation to see how the color display of vehicles changes in animation. Instead of showing individual vehicles, each link segment of the vSim network can be displayed in different colors based on aggregated values such as link speed, density, and volume. This feature is very helpful to illustrate hotspots in a big network during the simulation. To activate this option, link evaluation and a segment length need to be set on individual links and connectors, or for a group of links and connectors in the multi-select mode. Then, select View Options on the menu bar and check Aggregated Values under the tab Traffic. By pressing the Configuration button to the right, you can select the parameter to be displayed by color. The options in the drop-down list are these parameters that were previously selected for the link evaluation. You can select other parameters by pressing the Link Evaluation button below to load the Link Evaluation Configuration dialog box. You may set a shorter time interval when reviewing the animation in this mode. For a selected parameter, you can define the class limits of the parameter and the associated color of each class. Click OK twice to confirm, and then run the simulation to see how this setting works in animation. You also have the option to turn off the animation completely by selecting View, Options, and then No Visualization under the tab Traffic. This will accelerate the simulation speed. Since the vehicle simulation takes a substantial amount of memory and computing time, it may be wise to turn off the animation during the seeding period or a multi-run session. At any time during the simulation, you can toggle among the standard individual vehicle visualization, alternative link display by aggregated values, and no visualization using the shortcut Control-Q. For the purpose of reviewing simulation runs and ease of presenting these runs, vSim allows recording simulation sessions and saving them as animation files, .ani. These files can be recorded at any time interval during the simulation and played back from any point within the vSim network and at any speed supported by the computer hardware. To record an animation, select Presentation, Animation Parameters on the menu bar. Press New next to the Time Intervals list to define an interval to be recorded. You can define multiple intervals during a single simulation, but they cannot overlap. Then press New next to the Areas list. The main vSim window becomes active. Draw one or more boxes by moving the mouse while holding down the left mouse button. Only vehicles within one of these boxes will be recorded in the animation file. If only aggregated data instead of single vehicles should be recorded in the animation, you can uncheck the option Save Vehicle Positions. The resulting animation file will be much smaller. If you have recorded more than one animation file, you can select which file to be replayed and which second to start the animation in the following section. Click OK to confirm the setting. Then you need to activate Presentation, ANI Recording on the menu bar before starting the simulation. The recording will start automatically in the next simulation run. After the recording, you can replay the animation file by selecting Presentation Continuous on the menu bar. To control the animation playback, you can right-click in the toolbar area and check Animation from the context menu to activate more run control buttons. Since an animation only plays the graphics from the simulation run, the animation file can run much faster than the actual simulation. It can also be run in forward or reverse. The alternative link display is recorded as well in the animation file. You can toggle between the standard display of individual vehicles and the link display by aggregated values using the shortcut key Control-Q.